Okay, all set. Hey,
Hey,
focus.
how's it
Okay.
going?
Okay. All right. Hello. So we've got Rebaz here with us today to talk a little bit about the recruiting process, both for candidates, data scientists, but also for managers. So a little bit about Rebaz. He's been recruiting data scientists probably around the time that the term was being coined. Maybe like it was more analytics and then kind of like moved more and more into data science. So he's been in this business for a long time, like more than 10 years, I think. Um, I met Rebus when we had an office space in the financial district. There was this office in the corner with maybe like 15 English people. Uh, and right now you're back in London, right?
I'm in London at the
So
moment, that's right, yeah.
yeah. So before we start, then is recruiters is that one of the great exports of Britain right now, of the Great Britain?
Yeah, you could say
Yeah.
that, they're wherever you go around the world, you'll find British recruiters. I think it's just taken off really as an industry here, more so than other
Great,
industries.
yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, you
like
guys take it to another level, to another level.
yeah, like what the UK is for recruiters, what America is for basketball, or what Brazil is for soccer.
Wow.
But
So you have the LeBron James
but
of recruiters, right?
I mean, actually, some people probably say the opposite, but yeah, there's a lot of us out
Okay, yeah, yeah. Cool, cool. Yeah, yeah. So maybe you can start a little bit from the candidate perspective. So if someone is applying for a position as a data scientist, whether they are already working and switching jobs, or whether they're looking for something for the first time. So kind of like more or less like what their resume should look like what do hiring managers what are they looking for in a resume and in a profile in general.
there. Yeah, sure. So I guess the best way to answer this would be just to touch on the things that I look for, and
Yep.
and the things that I look for are what the hiring managers and the
Yeah,
human.
you can talk about your process, yeah, basically, because you're kind of like a matchmaker in this sense.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
the clients that I recruit for, the hiring managers, the talent acquisition folks that I work with. I can just tell you, I guess, a little bit about some of the key things that stand out for them,
yeah,
and starting with some of the more basic stuff, and just touching on some of the sort of more data science centric
yep,
um, aspects as
yeah,
well. So to begin, I mean, some basic stuff. If you're a data scientist that's been in work for, let's say, less than 3 years after masters,
okay,
there's no reason why your profile should be more than a couple pages long at best. Even if you're someone that's coming from a PhD and you have various publications, you should always have, I would say, no more than 2 or 3 pages.
yeah,
I think Glassdoor throws around 6 seconds is the average time a hiring manager spends looking at a profile.
yeah,
So you really need to be concise and hit the main points quickly and in an organized fashion, of course. So obviously starting with your recent skills first. Reverse chronological is the best way to sort of put out your profile. And and yeah, I mean, in terms of some of the more data science elements, I would say first and foremost, I see a lot of people that have a half page full of the technologies and tools that they've used for
yeah,
data science purposes.
yeah,
I'm sure you've seen a lot of that as well.
yeah. Anything dating back from, I don't know, the 90s, and then they just keep adding. How do you feel
Yeah,
about that?
yeah. So just some like some context, um, some in full. You use Python, you use R or OK. To what effect have you
Yeah,
used it for machine learning, and what kind of insights were gained from that?
yeah,
Some of the other stuff that just really are massive red flags are, you know, if you've been in a position for a short period of time, then then you should definitely make it clear why. And if you've been working in contract positions, then make that clear, because otherwise your profile is going to be flagged as a potential job hopper. If you've got a dissertation, then cite your thesis. If you've got a GitHub, then put that down. Having a GitHub has connotations of being a tech hobbyist. Everyone wants somebody
Yeah.
that's kind of techie, someone that's really into their work.
Although what I hear from some of for the hiring managers, like they'll know, but what I've heard from if they're just pure HR, then GitHub is like a weird thing for them. I think now they're learning what GitHub is. But I think I was talking to someone who was working internally, and then she's like, so there's this thing that these data scientists, they keep adding this GitHub thing. What is it? I was like,
sure. Yeah.
Maybe you're not the right person to hire them, but
then if that's if the company has a generalist recruiter, then it's probably not the type of firm you want to be working for.
Yeah.
The best companies for data scientists to work at are the data-driven companies, the companies that are data-centric, and where even if you don't have a specialist on these type of positions, of course your Amazons, your Googles, they're going to have people that just focus on machine learning engineers, just focus on computer vision specialists, and they're really niche in the field that they're recruiting.
They have to have a team at least. Like there has to be some kind of a team in there already. And like unless if you're going somewhere, well, it's okay to go somewhere to lead a team. Maybe if you have like 3 to 5 years of experience and you've seen products being developed from scratch, then going somewhere else and actually building a team. But if you're going there with like 1 or 2 years of experience and you're going to be the only data scientist or the only data engineer, like for me, I don't know, that might be a little bit of a red flag from the candidate perspective. Like how much can you really do by yourself? And there's no one else.
Yeah, I've had so many stories of really good candidates that'll hit me up, or I'll speak to them about why they want to leave their company, and they'll talk of being missold a role. They'll go in there, and whilst they're expecting to apply and deploy advanced machine learning methods, they're doing dashboarding or some BI work, or the company's just not ready to really do advanced.
They're not ready, and it's a cultural thing. So like if vertically they don't understand, and it needs to be, so basically the data scientist that's already there should have access to the executives directly. And if you're working underneath the IT or underneath the analysts or underneath the engineers, then maybe that's not exactly the kind of position that you're going to be building things. So yeah, maybe you're going to end up building dashboards, but you won't be able to build algorithms and then deploy them real time, which is kind of like where everybody wants to go.
Exactly. And it's in terms of your resume marketability, it's going into a role where perhaps you're not really doing the advanced stuff. It's going to be really difficult to come out of that afterwards as well. Everyone looks at your most recent work, your most recent accomplishments first. So yes, it's important you work for firms where if you're interested in that type of work and the more sort of advanced stuff, then it's important that you're doing it on the job as well.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so that's interesting. And then what about from the flip side, from the side of the managers? So now they're going through, they've decided that they're building up, maybe they already have a data science team, so maybe they're adding some more. And what about in that sense? What do you see managers like looking for, and what they should be looking for?
Yeah, so I think the main thing that managers should be looking for and are looking for is not just what and I touched on this a little bit before, but not just the methodologies and the techniques and the tools and the technologies they've used, but to what business effect. One of the biggest problems I see is there's data science is full of academics. Of course, it requires advanced knowledge of a strong statistical base, and a lot of these candidates will be coming from PhDs, from advanced academic backgrounds, and sometimes it's difficult for them to transition. Well, sometimes you see that there's a candidate who may have a PhD in machine learning from Harvard may not be the best.
Yeah.
Harvard's not the best example. They didn't even have a machine learning program, but they're candidates
But
that
they
come
might.
from really technical
But yeah.
academic backgrounds, but they don't transition so well into the business side of things. So not only what are the techniques and methodologies that they've used and applied, but to what effect. I've used natural language processing for cancer research purposes. It just doesn't have the same ring to it as I've developed a machine learning system that classifies millions of products for Amazon, and I've increased the classification accuracy from 30 to 90%, saved millions of dollars in the process. Then now that's a candidate that actually gets the business context, that can probably explain technical methodologies in layman terms, and better in a client-facing manner. So I'll definitely be looking for to see if the candidate is really conscious of that side of things. But
yeah. So I guess that's one for new candidates entering. Yeah, I think for the PhDs, it's kind of like similar also. Like if you already have a team and then they can bring someone else in and then they can train them, they can show them that, okay, like these are the deadlines, these are some expectations, like what are deliverables that we should get in like 2 to 3 days versus like 2 to 3 months. But in general, you shouldn't expect them to lead. They can lead, but it'll just like the timelines are much longer. Like in academia,
right.
like we're used to spending months and maybe years in publishing a paper because you can't make mistakes when you publish a paper. The value
exactly.
it's very, very small. Like maybe like one bad paper can really ruin your reputation as an academic, as a researcher. So there's a lot more at stake in there. And in business, I'm sure that you like at least like what we see is like the iteration is very important. Like you build something, you put it out there. Maybe you messed things up a little bit in the beginning, but you're kind of like seeing because like maybe you're training people internally how to use the system. So it might take a little bit of time, but you kind of like know where you're going. So you're building things, you're iterating, and then you keep learning more and more about the business and how to fully incorporate that into that. And so that's for the new candidates. What about for those who are moving from position to position? If you're a manager and now you're looking between.
Yeah. So again, I touched on this on the candidate side earlier. Of course, if you see a candidate, you look at the resume, they've been in the job for 6 months and then 9 months and then 8 months. That's a massive red flag. You're probably going to avoid this candidate and for good reason.
Yeah.
But at the same time, some of the best performing candidates that I've placed have been candidates that have been coming from consulting gigs. So, if you're make sure when you're looking at the profile, if it's not clear, it's maybe worth probing to see if that candidate has actually left full-time staff positions after a short period of time, or they've actually just been quite entrepreneurial and they've set up a corporation and been working corp to corp, on machine learning problems for clients. That kind of candidate is is in high demand because that's a person that's not only got the business acumen, they've obviously working in a client facing manner, they can probably
communicate like end to end. They can kind of like seen the entire cycle
quite well, and so I'll definitely be I'll definitely not pass up those candidates without some probing. Of course, management consultancies love that type of profile, but in this day and age, in every business, you're going to be interacting with non-technical stakeholders, developing business if you're a startup, whatever it may be. It's a massive benefit to have that ability to work in a client-facing manner or consulting.
No, that because when you're working in consulting, you get to see, you own the project. So if it fails, like you see the failure, and if it succeeds, you do see the entire cycle. So you see it from the beginning. It's like, okay, this is the statement of work. So now you're focused from the beginning, like these are the deliverables. So you can't go off track for too long. Sometimes when you're in a large organization and if the culture is not there, you can get off track for a while until like someone figures out like, hey, what are you doing? Are you still working on that algorithm, or what else have you been going on? But if you're working on project basis, you're getting paid by the project, for example. So you have 2 months, so you have 3 months to deliver. And then you have a checklist. You're like, okay, these are the things that we're checking off.
Yeah, you
Let's
need to
make
make
sure
a
that's
measurable impact. So
yeah. So then you check them off. You're like, okay, we're doing this, we're doing this, we've done this, we've done this. And then you move on to the next phase. So you're kind of also guiding both sides. You're like, okay, from here, this is where we move if we implement it like enterprise level. And so okay, so yeah, that's a good point. So for in that sense, you're saying that okay, so if they've worked on a bunch of projects, then it's okay if they are kind of like hopping because it was more like a project-based thing.
yeah, I mean,
And then on the full time, yeah,
it's rare that you see candidates like that, to be honest. Like, I would
right.
say 95% of data scientists are coming from full staff backgrounds. But
Yeah,
what I'm saying is that there are some hidden gems out there. Some of the best people I've placed have come from just contracting themselves individually and walking into a firm and really making a big impact. So definitely look out for candidates that have client-facing experience. Look out for candidates that have shown actionable insights and have articulated that on their resume and have shown measurable impact. I mentioned the classification accuracy percentages for someone that works for Amazon, for example. But it could be I've recruited data scientists that have worked with Fox that have helped them determine which movies will do best at the box office, and they have monetary numbers to back up how much success their models have had. So yeah, those sort of things I think are some of the key things that hiring managers should be looking for. But I think that's something that they are looking for anyway. So
right. So that's kind of like the first wave of the screening, and then the second wave, we can have another session on that. The second wave when it gets more technical, and okay, like what kind of projects you should give like as a take home for them to build like I like giving open-ended projects, and sometimes within that open-ended projects asking some key questions, but without like making it very specific, because very often the projects that you're working on are very much open-ended. Like if they're close-ended, it means okay, like you know exactly what you're going to be working on, then you're just looking for more workforce. So then there is a difference then between like those with research experience versus those who with more technical experience. You do want people with research experience if you have something like a really hard project. So someone who has a lot of research experience, but also commercial experience.
right.
For the hardest projects, I would say like that's the best combination, like research experience and like 2 or 3 years of like some kind of commercial experience. Because they can kind of it's different when you're graduated with maybe like a 1 year, or like maybe you went to like some boot camp where you just like learn some data science, and because you have the skills, so that's when you see those things that like the list of like skills that goes on for like half a page. Because you kind of like feel like you check them off, but at the end of the day, because maybe that list is too short if you're going that way, because then you should start also adding like math and statistics and algebra. It's kind of like the same thing. So if you're just listing like just like R and Python and like all of like random, you should of course list those, but like if you just keep adding to that list, then you should add algebra and then
I mean, it's just, I guess it's the important thing is to list the main technologies. If you're a software engineer, then there's going to be one language that you're predominantly using, right? If you're a data scientist, you should have experience using Python or R for machine learning, but also, some context as to the big data tools, how you've deployed them, in what systems, has it been cloud-based, all that sort of stuff is very important as well. More so than just the names of the tools that you by themselves. But again, also it depends on the type of role. We spoke about the actionable business impact. type of profile. But if you're applying for a research role, then your
Yeah.
publications, your Google Scholar link, that sort of stuff is just as important, if not more important, to see some of the work that you've written on and stuff like that. So yeah, of course, you have to build your resume to suit the position, and really, if you have a vast area of skills, get the skills out on that resume that's most relevant for that role.
I think those are going to be, in 5 years, I think those are going to be the most important roles that you'll have. The more and more on the research side, because right now what we're doing, basically, we're building the pipelines, we're building the infrastructure.
Right.
So you need people, like right now, you need people who are very, very strong on building those pipelines and maintaining them. And then at some point, you're going to move more and more into the world where understanding the match between the business problem and the tool sets becomes even more important. Like the tools will be like easy. And so that's when this experience, like the research experience, that is going to be really important in the long run. So
Sure.
it's going to be basically,
makes sense.
You're going to see what happens, for example, in the developer space, a lot of things have been automated. In the 90s and even early 2000s, developers were very important. Engineers were very important. But you're starting to see now a lot of developers, for example, looking to move into data science. Like that's probably like from LinkedIn, like I see that more than anything else. And one of the reasons is that what happened, for example, in the 90s was a lot of the things were built in Silicon Valley, maybe like the coasts, Silicon Valley and New York. But then once you figure out the model, once you figure out exactly what you need for large companies, like first you have your core team, so then you know exactly what you need. Then you also start looking offshore. And I think data science will move into that sense also. Like once you figure out exactly what you need, for example, like the easy things, the data cleaning, some of those things, they will also like be moved offshore or they'll be automated. Like one of those two.
Sure.
And then it'll be the value then again will be on both like the business value. Like, are we building an algorithm that can keep competing with other algorithms? Like, how do we stay ahead? I think that's kind of like you'll see more and more moving in that direction.
Sure.
So yeah, so it's good. So we can have another session. So next time we could talk about even more technical interviews.
Yeah, sounds
maybe
good.
even the process and like the technical interviews, but also like for both sides, for like the managers and for candidates.
Yeah. We can talk about that, optimal processes, and what candidate looks for in an interview as well, because
right.
It's quite tough to find.
Yep.
The best people have multiple options right now, so it definitely makes sense.
Yeah. If you don't know how to interview them, then maybe they'll figure out that maybe that's not the best place to.
Sure.
Good. All right, so London to New York.
Nice seeing
New
you,
York
and
to London.
take care. Best for now.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Later.